Yeah, there's always a little delay before it actually goes over onto Instagram. So just one moment. We're probably already live, but normally there's some sort of a tech issue, isn't there, Kirsty?
Yeah, we always have a little bit of one.
We always have a little bit of one, but I think we're all good. I think we're here. I think we are.
Yeah.
Yep, we are perfect. Getting better at this. Right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the VA Live Lounge. Hopefully, we'll get plenty of people joining today because this is one that I'm really excited about. We have Kirsty and myself, Lisa, and Wendy Norman joining us from LiveLink Resources and Speedy Calls UK. And again, one of the wonderful things, if you're watching this on YouTube, is that I just love the wallpaper that Wendy's got.
No,
fantastic.
Sorry if anyone's got a little bit of a hangover.
It matches your top. Did you do that on purpose?
Well, do you know? Yeah, I did.
I love that wallpaper.
This morning I thought, what shall I wear? Oh, yeah, let's put this on.
It's brilliant.
It does look good, and it's really brilliant to have you today because we've had a brief call already, and I'm absolutely fascinated by your journey. I think your journey is one that's going to show people what actually can be achieved, and it's in stark contrast actually to the last guest that we had on, where she talked about not using associates because I think there's some element of control there sometimes for VAs that you want to do everything yourself. And you also didn't really go down the associate route, but you went down the employment route instead, which is amazing because like just talking to you, how you've built your business so big and to a point where it's a genuinely tangible, saleable asset. It just goes to show VAs what they can achieve if they are willing to, take chances. So just give us a little bit of background, Wendy, about where you started, because you're like one of the original VAs, aren't you?
Yeah, do you know, there weren't very many of us around. And it was a sort of a concept, I think, originated in Australia. I may be completely talking rubbish there. And there were a real small handful of us, including people like you may have heard of Caroline Wiley, Ros Bott, who had been going for a little while. And we were on a little group together on Skype, winging it, really, making it up as we went along, and saying, this is what we need to do, and this could be good. And then I started going to networking. Yeah. Which I laugh because everyone's now thinking, why are you laughing? Because, we go to networking, it's normal. Well, 15 years ago, try going to BNI or For Networking that was then and saying, hi, I'm a virtual assistant and you can outsource your work to me and I can make your life easier. It's like crickets. Eyes glazed. They had absolutely no idea. I could have been talking Chinese, so it was a real difficult situation to convince people that we were going to be a real benefit to them. That was the first thing. And but on the other hand, it was easier because not many people were doing it.
Yeah. So and was that because back then it wasn't, it's amazing, isn't it? Like it was the COVID pandemic that really made people realize you could do things remotely. So you were ahead of your time because I suppose you were in amongst people that didn't realize that you could do things remotely. So that must have been quite difficult for you at the time.
Yeah, it was, because everybody assumed that if you had a PA or a receptionist or any administrative type person, that they had to be sitting in your office next to you on a desk 8 hours a day.
Yeah. And how did you overcome those kind of barriers then to get people to be more, I don't know, forward thinking with that mindset?
Yeah, I knew that I had to get people that knew what I did shouting about me, persuading other people. And that's ostensibly what I did in the end. I'm saying lucky. I was very fortunate that I got a really large contract right at the start. In fact, I got two. One was from somebody I knew who was the chief exec of Shelter locally. And it coincided with when the government at the time changed all the benefits regulations. So the council staff and benefits teams needed training. So they wanted to do roadshows and workshops all over the UK.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I was asked to set them up.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
It was fantastic. I had them at Cambridge University. I had them at the Canal Museum in Islington. I got some real quirky, interesting places as well. And the feedback was always, toilets weren't good. There weren't enough, it's always anything.
It's always the toilets. Well, what was your background before becoming a VA?
Because I'm ancient now. I feel ancient. Hence my 70s wallpaper.
That wallpaper's not ancient, it's retro.
My background, I spent 15 years in luxury hotels around the UK and abroad, including Savoy Group.
Wow.
And then I lived abroad, and then I came back and thought, now what? And I actually fell into working in the NHS in clinical governance. My first role, though, was herding sheep, herding cats. And I coordinated the chief execs forums throughout Norfolk. So it was all the chief execs of mental health, primary care trusts, acute hospitals and things like that, and the MPs as well. So I would organise their meetings, get them all together, do the action points, make sure the action points had been done, which was easier than you think. Chief execs and people at that level are a lot easier to deal with than people to that level. Much different dynamic, and they were fabulous. So that's what I did for 5 years. 5 years was enough. I'm afraid the NHS sucked all the life out of me, and I became a very subdued, different person to what I am now. I'd have had a beige wall then. Beige wall. So then I thought, I don't want to go on doing this. What am I going to do? And something happened in the NHS, and I almost walked. And I thought something, and then I thought, but I've got to flipping heck, I've got to pay my mortgage because I'm on my own. How am I going to do that? And so I'd heard a little bit about VAs, and I thought, well, I could do some transcription, or I could do some proofreading for university courses and things like that.
Yeah.
So little bits of work there. It was just things I was thinking over in my mind. And then I met a lady called, who a lot of people will know, called Michelle Ibs at I'm Your PA.
Right.
Because she had just started as well.
Yeah.
And I went and spent a week with her. That was an interesting week, as she will tell you, because she was burgled in the night. Never been burgled in my life. That was interesting.
Oh, God.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that was an experience I probably wouldn't want to go through again.
No.
And then we started, and she was doing call answering, and I started to think about that. I thought, what is this call answering? Looked into it more. And then I also did some locum work in the NHS in GP practices to keep an income coming in.
Yeah.
And then I took the plunge and started LiveLink.
Wow.
How
old is LiveLink now?
I started June 2011, so 14 years.
Wow, absolutely amazing.
That is incredible.
Happy. And you've stayed within that niche, haven't you? With it, or am I wrong?
Yeah. I mean, when I'm going to be honest, and I think this will be very relatable and resonant with so many VAs that's maybe listening to this at some point. When I first started, I had my banner, my website, and I had my banner, at the networking. Oh, look what I can do. Well, it was ridiculous. I could do everything because I was just so brilliant. I could organise conferences, I could do transcription, I could do this, that, the other, blah, blah. It was crazy. I was all things to everybody.
Yeah.
But because I was persistent with this networking, and there was I did it very intentional, the networking, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. Because I was doing this networking, I was getting small clients, really small. Some actually are still with me, some now.
Wow.
And they're bigger now. But they were little chunks of money that literally just paid my bills. That was all. And I was working in my little tiny flat that I had then, in my spare room, with a laptop, a phone. And I'd start at 8 a.m. in the morning and I'd finish at 6 p.m. every single day. And I'd go networking beforehand and sometimes in the evening.
Yeah.
I was very focused, shall we say.
You had a strategy.
Yeah.
I very much I had a strategy. Yeah, I knew, particularly coming from a background of the NHS, I knew I needed to know people, but not the people that I worked with, because they were never going to be my clients. So I went over to Huntingdon to a full networking meeting and met Brad Burton. And he said, "Why, babe, why don't you start one up in Norwich? Because there's nothing over there." And I went, "All right then." Well, okay. Because I thought, actually, then I can meet people.
Mm.
And on the way there, I somehow became the area leader for Norwich and that, and ended up starting up 5 groups.
Wow.
Yeah, how that happened. And it was terrifying at the time because I'd never done anything like that before.
Yeah.
But for me, that was very intentional because I knew I needed to get people, and this was an inroad, so I could contact people out of the blue almost and say, "Hi, I'm starting up this networking meeting. Blah,
Yeah.
blah, do you fancy coming along?" And that's how I built up my
That's amazing. And you're so right in what you say. We talk a lot about niching on this in the live ad, and I talk about it with VAs all the time, because everybody tries. The thing is, if you say who's your target audience to a VA, they'll say everyone, but that shouldn't be your target audience, because then you're just screaming into the same void as everyone else, and you really need to define your message. So it's going back to the drawing board. What's your skill set? What's your experience? What do you know? And or what do you love doing? And then using that to find who your ideal client is. And I think people do it because they're frightened that they will then alienate everyone else, but that doesn't happen. And the networking thing, like I call myself a networking tart. I am just constantly networking, and it served my business so well. But it isn't just networking, it's consistency, and it's then taking opportunities like you've done. So I'd speak at events, but also I did the same as you. I started my own networking event, because if you are a leader, if you're seen as a leader, then you are an authority and people have respect for you instantly. And I think a lot of VAs hide behind the fact that they are remote, they are behind a computer screen, or they stick to online networking events. But would your advice be get out there, be face to face, have a strategy, be intentional? What would you say to people?
Yeah, my advice would be, particularly for a new VA, you need to know exactly what you're going to do. You need to know if there's a market for it, because you might think, "Oh, I want to help people that deliver Reiki or this, that, and the other." Well, that's all lovely. But do those therapists that are on their own delivering Reiki have the money to pay you? So you need to have 2 things in mind here. You need to know who your client is.
Yeah.
And you need to know and understand if they can pay you. So for dentists and things are awesome because they have.
There you go, dentists.
Yeah, if you can get them, they're great. But
all dentists, please get in touch.
yes, hi dentists, we're here.
I love that. And if anybody's listening and they have any questions around networking, then just drop that in the comments, and Wendy and we can respond to that. If you've got any fears, if you've got any questions about networking events you should join, you shouldn't join. I mean, I've got my own personal views on that. I am a member of a couple, but I tend to pay as you go, and I don't like BNI.
Yeah, I was a member of BNI for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, it worked really well for me.
Yeah, that's good.
But then I knew I don't go networking now. I don't.
Well, you don't need to, do you? Because you've done so amazingly well.
Yeah,
I've actually never been networking. I did an online networking, right? And it was disastrous. I was terrified. And I think that whether you're new, whether you've been doing it for a while, networking is so, for people like me, it's really terrifying. But I think the more you do something, the more people, because in the area, those similar people, I know Lisa, we always say, "Oh, we saw such and such at the networking event," and then these people have become clients because Lisa has always repetitively done networking. But for somebody like me, it just terrifies me. Like, what advice would you give to somebody who's thinking, "I really want to do this, I really like, how can I get over like my first networking event, my second, my third, and that kind of thing?"
Practice. That is all I can say. I mean, I come across as very not outgoing, because I'm not particularly outgoing, strangely enough, but I come across as quite confident and just sorted, really. But do you know, when I first started networking, the first ones I went to is called Norwich Business Club, and I was shaking. I would rather have been run over by a bus and had a broken leg than go in that networking.
Yeah.
And it was constant practice. I mean, there were 70 odd people going to that, so having to stand up, which I'd never done in my life before, and say what I did was horrifying to me, and I would shake, literally shake, until I suddenly thought, right, what can I do? And it was somebody else that suggested it to me, who said, you honestly, he said, you wear so many hats. Yeah, far too many at that time. And I thought, I could do something with hats. And I took in about 8 hats, and I had somebody next to me who I briefed. I said, in my standy uppy bit, just keep putting those hats on and I won't say anything.
Oh, wow. Love that.
That's amazing.
And, you know, people have still remember that. And funny enough, the guys that were putting these on my head ended up wearing them for the whole meeting. It was very funny seeing this man wearing my mum's wedding hat for the whole meeting.
That is amazing.
It was a prop that did it.
Yeah.
Having something to hold, something to focus on, not you just going,
yeah.
It was that changed.
And people will remember that as well, won't they? And they'll say that, like, you know, do you remember that lady Wendy, or she did this, and oh yeah, she's actually a VA. So it's kind of like, that's a brilliant idea. That
it's brilliant. Yeah, I love that.
Again, it was quite intentional, because I had something. I went to that meeting knowing I had something to hold, something to do, and somebody else next to me doing it.
Yeah,
doing the putting it on my head bit.
Wow.
And I said, so that is my advice: find a prop and practice. Don't, you know, if you hate it the first 2 or 3 times, which you will, there's no doubt about it, keep going. If you have to write it down and read off a piece of paper. That won't last forever.
No.
And because you'll just get used to it, and the more you do something, the better it is. I mean, I'm now at the stage where I can, if somebody said to me, can you stand up for 3/4 of an hour and in a front of a load of people and talk something without any notice, could you? Yes, I could.
Yeah, me too. Oh, it's amazing, because it just opens so many doors, like speaking events. Then you could run webinars, and you just get more and more confident. I mean, I network all the time, but I still, without like any warning whatsoever at all, will randomly, just before it's my time to do my 30-second pitch, like buckle and go to absolute part and think I'm going to pass out, and no idea why, but I do it anyway. And I love networking, because the one great thing is you're around like-minded people, and I think you need that. Like, I'm not being disrespectful to my husband and my 2 children, but they don't get me, and I understand what it's like running a business. And when I network, I normally, because I go a lot, I meet the same people. It's like meeting friends, and it just gives you lots of energy. You walk away feeling really like, I'm going to do this, and it's quite empowering. So there's a lot more to it than. You shouldn't approach networking as if you're just trying to get business.
No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. And you just need to have a strategy, even if it's just quite a broad strategy and very loose.
Yeah.
So there's no point just turning up thinking, I'm going to have a nice cup of coffee and a bit of bacon or something like that and have a chat.
Yeah.
Because then you'll go away and nobody will remember a damn thing about you. And you won't like it, and you won't go again. It is that consistency that people have to see your face not day in, day out, but you know, week in, week out, month in, month out, and get to know you. And I think, you know, I really think it's particularly important for VAs, because when you're a VA for a company, you're running their business. Somebody is entrusting their baby to you. They're just handing it over to you, almost their money, their revenue, their future income, their holidays, their mortgage. There you are, off you go, make it work.
Yeah.
So you're not going to do that to somebody you don't know. Well, I would think it would be pretty stupid to do that.
Yeah, you would. Yeah. And so with you, and as you've mentioned, you had a banner and it said you did everything. So at some point, because I know LiveLink is mainly for clinics.
It is mainly clinics.
Did that come over time, refining that message?
Well, I started in 2011, and I guess I changed in 2014.
Okay.
to be very niche. Yeah.
Was it scary to do that?
No, because I had quite a few clinics already.
So you knew that it could work.
Yeah, so I knew it could work. And I was working with a lady that's still working with me now, who had a similar background to me,
Right.
which was a mix of hotels and healthcare. So it just all started to fit like a jigsaw then as well. So we had specialist knowledge plus that really good customer service training and skill set as well. So yes, it was about 2014. I knew, though, I don't think I mentioned this right at the beginning, before I started, I did know what I wanted the ending to be.
Wow, that's incredible to have that foresight. Yeah. I was going to come on to that. I was going to say, because obviously you are an agency, you're not just you. Did you always know that it was going to be not just you?
Yeah, I mean, I often say I'm inherently lazy, and there was no way I wanted to be doing the work, never. But it's a bit of a lie because I was in hotels, so I'm definitely not lazy.
You're not lazy, you're not. Yeah, that's what you are, obviously.
So I got somebody actually gave me a book. I can't remember who gave it to me, and he gave me the E-Myth Revisited. And I went home. It's a really easy read. Went home and read that and thought, now I get it. I absolutely get it. And now I know what I'm going to do. Because if people that haven't read it, the E-Myth is about either having a job and leaving an employed role, but swapping it for another job, or having a business, which is a very different thing, because that is something you don't actually work in. You're the chief executive of it, so your strategy, not doing the doing all the time.
Yeah.
And so I got it, and I thought, well, I don't want to be working in it. I know I don't want to be working in it. That is how I'm going to do it, and I'm going to plan for that, and let's see how I can do that.
Wow, incredible. And so how long, once you started Livelink, was it before you started to take on, did you start with associates ever, or did you just literally take
Yeah. Now this is where networking really came to the fore, because I was working myself all this time, and it was exhausting, and so I couldn't meet new clients. I couldn't do anything much. I'd met some great people in networking, and two of them said to me, they must have got together and said, look, we work in home offices. We're there. Why don't we take your calls on a couple of afternoons or mornings a week? You pay us per call, and you can go out and do your marketing. So that's how I did it. Wow. And funny enough, the guy that did that put my wallpaper up. He's a friend. He's not anything. He's a friend.
Okay, so that's how it all.
So we did that, and then I took on a lady. She was at university doing marketing, so she worked on. I had her on Fridays in the office doing the calls and things, and on all my client meetings and things were booked out on a Friday, and went from there.
Wow.
Because the office just got bigger and bigger.
The difficulty is making that transition, isn't it? So even though like a lot of VAs, a lot of freelancers, a lot of people starting their own businesses will still be in employment, and then they're making that shift. I've done it twice, and you do eventually have to take that leap of faith. But even when you take that leap of faith, like for me, when I started my VA business, I knew it was going to be an agency. I knew, just like you, there was no way, because I'm like a dream big kind of person. It was never just going to be me. But I still needed to build it by working with the clients.
Yeah.
And then it's finding that spot where you're still inundated with clients, but now you're taking on staff.
Yeah.
But you've still got the clients yourself. And then kind of how do you release those clients and then just become the person managing the business day to day? Is that something you found tricky?
That's a really good question, actually. Really good question. I am quite a risk taker. I mean, it's not all been roses, but as you know, I'm not going to go into some of the stuff I was telling you. I will tell you about something else that happened. So it's not all been roses, but I am a risk taker. So I am quite prepared to jump off that ledge and see what happens, because I know I'll find the money for my bills somewhere, even if I have to max out my credit cards, which I have done twice. At one point, we're going back now to 2014, I think, must have been around then, perhaps a bit earlier, when the bank pulled in my overdraft without any notice on our business account.
God.
So we were stuffed every which way. And so I had to contact my clients and say, this is what has happened. Can you please pay me into a different account? I was very honest with them.
Yeah.
But we did end up on bank special measures.
Wow.
For 3 months, but actually it was fine because I had a plan. They didn't give. And when I gave them the plan, they said absolutely fine. We'll accept that and we'll refinance you. Just let's keep in touch for the next 3 months on special measures or whatever it's called. And we were back. We're fine. And he said he always knew we would be because I'm very, when I have to be, I'm very focused. Very focused. So taking that jump from taking calls and things and being part of the team and doing admin to not was quite big.
Because you're releasing a lot of your income by doing that, your personal income, aren't you?
Well, was I? Not so much, no, because I'm quite good at marketing. So I knew if I spent a lot more of my time on marketing, I knew I could very quickly build it up.
Yeah.
So I didn't actually. My income soared.
Well, I suppose you have to have a lot of faith in yourself, and that's the thing, isn't it? You can only do this if you know. If I said tomorrow, look, to all my clients, I'm going to release you all to my team, I would then have to go out there and pound the pavements, wouldn't I? You know?
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
there's no two ways about it.
But don't forget, my team are employed as well. Yes. They're not associates, so the split is very different.
Yeah. But also there's a lot more risk for you.
Yes, there is. And there's a lot more cost. There is a lot more cost.
Yeah. But you did it. How many employees do you have now?
10.
That's amazing. And would you be happy to say how many clients you've got roughly, or how many you've helped over the years?
Over the years, we must have had about 500 odd, I guess.
That's a dream, isn't it? It's a dream for any VA. And I think my message is to VA, solo VAs out there. If you're happy and comfortable, you've got like a 2 to 3K month mark, and that's all you want, and that's your life, great. If not, and you want more than that, you do have to go down this route. I don't think there's any other way. And no VA mentor out there, VA coach, can tell you you're going to be able to do 10K months on your own. I just don't.
No, you can't. I think it's impossible. And I do challenge people that say that. I think either you've got to be incredibly expensive and have real high-end clients that don't care what they pay, or your skills, oh my goodness, have to be so bespoke and tailored. Yeah, you're not going to do that.
And you got a 55-hour day.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and you sleep for 4 hours.
Just blink and I'm back again.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's wanting that balance. Like lots of business owners fall into the trap of thinking that they're starting a business for freedom, and it's anything but. You work literally 24/7. I ran my first business like that for 10 years. It was ridiculous. Yeah. Now I'm total opposite, and my time is really precious to me. And so do you find that you're really good at the boundaries? Do you work less hours than you were at the beginning, or?
I mean, I have been forced to have to work less hours because I've got rheumatoid arthritis. So, and all the rubbish that comes with that, any AI disease. So I have to be very careful what I work. I don't work after 2 o'clock. I don't do anything after 2 o'clock. I generally lounge on the sofa watching crap TV, you know.
That's brilliant.
But before, you know, when people say, "Oh, I'm going to be a VA because of my work-life balance," and that's fine if you, as you say, you want to earn £1,500 a month.
Yeah.
But if you want a business, forget any work-life balance, because that just does not exist.
Yeah.
You've got to put the hours in, especially in the beginning. You really do.
Yeah.
So what made you decide you were going to take on employees and not associates?
This is I'm going to upset a load of people now.
You have to just say it as it is.
Because you know what I'm going to say. I'm really sorry. This isn't all of you, but everybody that's watching this. I decided to go down the employee route because I'd been let down so many times by VAs that were completely flaky.
Yeah.
They either overpromised and underdelivered, didn't turn up on time, didn't understand that when I say we start at 8 o'clock, I meant we start at 8 o'clock, not 8:45 after you've been taking your kids to the school. So yes, so I had to have some more control in it.
Yeah, and you know, I started to write. I've got an ebook coming out, which is how you can scale beyond your 2K months, and in there I talk about this with associates about. I'm not lying. If I told you that I've shown up on Zoom calls to meet potential VAs wearing their pajamas, with the background looking like they're in a rubbish dump, or the kids running around and screaming at them, would you think I was lying? And that's how people have shown up. So there are people listening now. What would your advice be if they want to, like, we accept associates, not at the moment, we've had to turn off our join us form because we're just inundated at the minute, but I do work with associates. I've done it like you, I've done it wrong. Not like you, like you've done it wrong, but I've done it where I think in the beginning, my vetting process wasn't great. I probably wasn't challenging enough. We have a really stringent vetting process now, which is so difficult to get through. That means only really the best get through. I've also been screwed over massively, massively. Kirsty has been with me since like almost day one, and I would trust her with my life. But Kirsty knows that journey, and we actually went back to the drawing board last year and decided I wasn't going to work with associates anymore because it was just I'd been burnt so badly, and it took a lot of my confidence. And then in May last year, I think it was, we went back to working with associates again, did things very differently, and I have to say I have the most amazing team, but I needed to do things differently, you know, the way I was going about things. I think that's part of the problem. But what would your advice be if people do want to apply to be associates with VA agencies? What should they be doing?
What should they be doing? That's really tough because
what should they not be doing? Because this is one of the problems I found. I found that they were embellishing their skill set, saying that they definitely couldn't do.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the amount of VAs we get saying that they are tech experts, and then the first thing I do is look for their website, and when I find it, I can tell if they've got experience or not, and I won't even entertain it past that because I feel like the trust is broken. So just be honest. And it was one of the reasons we changed our packages. We changed our packages so that we've got three. One's simply admin, one's admin plus tech, one's admin plus marketing. And the reason we did that was so we could be inclusive of VAs that didn't have tech and marketing skills. And I think a lot of VAs feel like they have to say they can do everything on the tin. And they don't. You should be able to say you can't do these things, and there should still be work out there for you.
Yeah, if I'm thinking about sort of a new VA that wants to become an associate to somebody, I would say before you even think about it, make sure you have got your skills up to date. Make sure, as you say, you're not embellishing your CV, and learn them. Don't do a 2-week course in something. This could take years. I mean, I'm now a member of the Institute of Marketing. That's taken me years because that wasn't my background.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty proud to say I am that now. So but it's because every day I learnt and I learnt and I learnt. I studied books. I read books. I read from the best marketeers and things. And I went on a lot of courses, month in, month out. So for a VA, got to have some honesty. If you've been a secretary or a general admin in, say, the NHS, because it's what I know, don't suddenly say I can be a PA to a chief executive. No, you can't. You can't. It's a very, and particularly out of any public sector, it's very different. It's a different role entirely.
Yeah.
You've got to think on your feet, which you don't have to so much in the NHS and public sector. And you're right, if you're a tech VA, don't just think I can do an odd thing on Canva.
Yeah.
Or I can look at capsule CRM and add a few people in and a few new fields. That's not a tech VA. A tech VA, of course, we know it's a lot to do with automation and stuff as well. So upskill, manage your own. If you're a new VA, manage your own expectations and be honest, because actually a lot of VAs may be happy to train you on some of those skills as well.
Yeah.
And get you up to where you need to be. What they're not going to be doing is paying you £30 an hour if you're a diary manager.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that you're so spot on, because that's how we approach it. So we have my agency isn't just you're an associate and you're over there doing some work for us. You're very much part of the team. Everyone gets their own email address within the company. They're part of our chat channel. They join monthly calls with us. We look after them, and also we support you. So we all help one another. Let me tell you, the amount of people who have jumped on a chat and said, I think I've just lost somebody's website, and we've all come in to help.
We did, didn't we?
It happens, it does happen. And nobody's like saying, well, I can do something you can't do. The great thing is, like you just said, we do say, if you want to learn, I'm happy to teach you. And we've got some VAs that want to then become tech VAs. So we're going to give them those opportunities. I think it's more important to have a VA that's responsive. I've got a willingness to learn. They've got some initiative. They're proactive. That means way more to me than anything else, because not being funny, you can learn a lot, on YouTube and places like that. But I think what you've just said about personal development, it's like listening to me. I've done exactly the same thing as you. The first 2 years, I went on I joined my local chamber of commerce. I went on every single course you can imagine. As AI was just coming out, like ChatGPT, I went on like a 2-day training course to understand the background of that, how it works with tokens, or really understand it on a deeper level. And I've learned so much. I don't really need to go to any of these things anymore, but it took me a long time to realise the skill set I've developed. And I remember Kirsty saying to me, when we were talking about tech VAs, well, you're a tech VA. And I was going, I'm not a tech VA. And it took me ages to realise that I was, because I'm really skilled now in automation. But I learned that from scratch.
Yeah.
It's possible. It's so possible. So, I think associates, look for agencies that are willing to train you as well is really important.
I can absolutely. I mean, I am almost like a proof in the pudding type person, because since working with Lisa and the agency, I've learned so much. When I remember when we first started, Lisa, and I was like, oh, how to do that, or how to do that, and Lisa trained me, and the possibilities. If I look back now at what I can do, I'd have gone, I could never have done that. I could never have done that on my own. I could never have, because you're actually doing the work, and you've got somebody who's willing to mentor you. And I very often go, to the tech team and go, I've got a really silly question. And they are brilliant as well, because they'll go, this is how you, and they'll often jump on calls and say, you do it, and I'll talk you through it. So it's being under an agency, I would say, is absolutely the way forward. If you're starting off new and you want to learn new things, and you get with an agency that's willing to help you and train you and give you access to the things that you need, then absolutely the way forward from my side.
And do you when you were taking on employees though, Wendy, did that mean that you didn't have to do that, or were you still willing to train people, or did you just want them ready to go?
Do you know what I wanted? I wanted more experience. I started to look at specialists, in health fields and things like that. And some of it was luck. Some of it was luck. I got 2 CVs on the same day that said, would I consider it people working from home? One stayed with me 7 years. Carrie is still with me. And because that day as well, I also gave notice on my office and moved out remotely. That was in 2017. And
was that a big thing for you to do that, to go to remote working and trust your team?
So it was actually, but it made that, and that also made a massive difference, because then I had a pick of a lot bigger pool of talent, even though Sarah is actually local to me down the road. It's cost-wise, I got rid of my £1,000 a month office. And yes, that did make a big difference. Amazing. So
you've gone down this route, you've taken on employees, which is such a brave thing to do. But as we've just said, we've had some like really hair-raising, scary moments, screwed over, stabbed in the back, and peed all over.
Yes.
Have you had the same experience with employees?
I've got to be a little bit careful, as you know, because I've got somebody in court at the moment.
Well, the answer is yes.
So yes, I had somebody, whilst working for me, took clients and worked on them whilst I was paying her. Yes.
Unbelievable. And it's no amount of CV sifting, vetting, working with people can ever prepare you for when that happens.
No,
I do find that
you
didn't expect it. That must have been. How did that affect you, like your mental health?
Well, she did it the day that I had a bereavement.
Oh God.
Whilst consoling me on the phone, because I didn't
know.
No. Yeah.
Awful, just awful. But
I want to put it this way. This was back in, we're going back way now. Court takes years. It's September 2022. November 2022, I didn't care whether I lived or died.
Wow. That's incredible.
And it was somebody I know messaged me and said, something isn't right, Wendy. And I said, no, it isn't. And he rang me.
Wow, unbelievable. There's always a way of finding out, isn't there? There's always a way you find out. He just
guessed. He thought, I don't know why. He just sensed it. And yeah, there was a day I didn't care whether I lived or died.
Wow, that's incredible.
I could have coped with one or the other, but both at the same time. That betrayal, huge betrayal. And I don't have any family. I have got a brother. I was adopted, and we've recently, last 10 years, found each other. And so I have no little support system around me, familiarised anyway, family-wise.
Yeah.
This person that died was closer than a sister.
God. So I think that support network then it is important. The thing is, when you have to be a certain kind of person to run a VA agency or any kind of business. You have to have a lot of resilience, a lot of tenacity,
bravery,
a lot of trust.
Yeah.
Do you find that you become hyper? I don't know the right word for it. So I automatically assume the worst. So like if a VA decides they're leaving and then a client magically is leaving the next day, I am literally always thinking, well, they're stealing the client, and that is hard to get past. Like you do have to put a lot of faith and trust into people that they're not just going to go and wander off with your clients. Yeah. How have you overcome those issues of trust?
Funny enough, I'm still quite trusting. I've always been very trusting, which may be a fault and a good thing. I don't know. It probably works, but so I'm still very trusting. This was so bizarre. I mean, everyone's heard of this happening after somebody leaves,
but not whilst they're employed.
Not whilst they're employed.
Yeah.
And she's been with me for 4.5 years in such a position of trust where she knew everything about the business and had access to everything.
Yeah, that's terrifying. But I suppose, even though that did happen while that person was still with you, this is almost, it happens, doesn't it? It happens in any business industry. How many financial advisors are there that have worked, in wealth management companies and then gone off and started on their own? I suppose you learn a lot on the job, and then you go off and you start your own businesses, and we have to kind of accept that's going to happen and understand, not take it personally. You've got to be tough, haven't you, to do something like that?
You do. Although the daft thing was, if she'd approached me and said this is what she wanted to do, I'd have helped her.
Doesn't this sound so familiar, Lisa?
Sounds so familiar.
Honestly, do you know what it is for me? I with this similar situation happened to us, and it really affected Lisa in many, many different ways, and I took it really personally.
Yeah.
And I very much, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I would literally trust Lisa with my life, and I would never do anything like that, because it's about integrity, isn't it? I would never ever, if a client said to me, I want to work with you directly, I'll go, absolutely no way, because we have such a strong trust relationship that nothing in my eyes could ever break that. Like there would be no situation where I'd ever do anything behind her back or anything like that. But when this situation happened, I could have just killed this person. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
it affected me so much, but I had to be strong for Lisa because it was very personal to her. And we are so far apart. You know, I'm down in Torquay and she's up in Derbyshire, so I couldn't just nip round and all that kind of thing. But like you, I knew how bad this was. I knew how bad it was affecting her because we have that intense relationship.
Yeah.
You know, we know everything about. There's things that Lisa knows that nobody knows about me because I trust her with my life. I trust her with my kid. I trust her with everything. And when this happened, I knew immediately. I joined a call with her. She didn't even have to speak. I said, "This shit's got to stop. Like, we've got to. What I actually said to her, we've got to give our heads a wobble and get back on the bike." And that's what we did. And we said, by 2 o'clock this afternoon, we're not going to talk about it again. We're just going to forget about it and move on, learn from our mistakes. But to have that support network around you, that trust that you know instantly, is absolutely priceless in my eyes. Priceless.
It is. It is. Do you know, and I didn't tell, and two of my team knew, Jen and Estelle knew, and they couldn't stand her anyway.
No, I couldn't. And I made that really, I voiced that very early on, that it was not, you know.
Funny, isn't it? It's funny that people, you get this sense, and it was very strange in my business because after 3 weeks, I did tell everybody. I had called a meeting and said, "I'm going to have to tell you this. This has happened." Some were shocked, some weren't, but the sense of relief from everybody that she was gone,
Wow.
you could feel it.
So do you think then that there is
what happened was going?
There must have been something already there then. So
oh God, they thought she was toxic.
But you didn't see that really at the time.
I knew she was a liar. I knew she was a manipulator. I knew all of that, but I also saw something else in her.
It's trusting your instincts, isn't it? It's very difficult. But I don't want this to put a lot of people off because you've obviously got an amazing team.
They're all still with me. All those people are still with me.
Fantastic.
So some more now.
Are there many VA agencies out there like you that take on employees rather than associates?
I know a couple. One is Michelle, I'm your PA.
Yeah.
Do you know Jackie Frost at sorry, Jackie, why can't I remember your company name? Office Genie.
On the spot.
Office Genie.
Oh yeah.
She does.
Okay, so there's a few.
There's another lady that does as well that I know of.
Wow, so there's a few out there then, but it's achievable. People want it. They don't have. They can do this themselves, but you've got to have resilience. You've got to be good at marketing. You've got to get your bloody ass out there. You can't just sit back and think you're going to do. It's just going to happen because it's not.
I think the key things are you need a strategy. You need to be almost single-minded about following that strategy. So you need focus. You need a whole heap of bravery.
Yeah.
You need resilience in shed loads. Yeah. And you need to learn. You need to get over that. Oh, but I know that. Or I know that. Oh, no one needs to tell me that. I've learned that ages ago.
Yes.
No, you haven't. You need to do it again and again and again and again.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
And things do go wrong, as we've just spoken. Things do go wrong. And so that's where your resilience and your bravery will really come into play.
Yeah. You said something interesting at the start of this. You said you knew what the end looked like.
Yeah, I did.
I think that's key. So like my first business I sold, not for a lot of money, but this time I knew I wanted an exit plan. I think any business should have an exit plan. You should have a reason you're doing it. And why would you create a business just to give it up one day? You can make that saleable asset. Was that your intention?
Yeah, 100%. That was my intention because I wanted something to sell. And I have considered selling, but I can't while I'm in litigation. We spoke before. You can't do that. I may consider it beginning of next year. because what I want to do is more strategy and business coaching with people with AI disease, that if I can flame and run a business, so can they, and not rely on PIP, DLA, and This Morning every day on TV.
Amazing. That is incredible. And so a lot of women work as VAs, and a lot of women do not have pensions. And so I think it's important to look at it from that point of view. If you can get your business to a point where that's your future pension part, that's pretty amazing if you can do that. Without giving us a valuation of your business, do you think you've achieved that?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So there's hope out there for everybody else then.
I mean, put it this way, from that woman 14 years ago, sitting in her spare room in a tiny flat I had in Norwich with a phone and things, scraping together £900 a month or something, if I could manage it, and then relying for the rest on credit cards to pay my bills. I now have a saleable asset. I have 2 houses. I definitely take home a lot more than £2,000 a month.
Wow.
And go on cruises. I can go on several holidays a year if I want, and things. And so, I don't have to think about something if I want to buy it.
Wow, what an incredible position.
And I mean, I'm not by no means rich or wealthy.
Yeah.
But I've gone from that to that, and you can do it, but it's just resilience, bravery, focus, and bloody hard work. Bloody hard work. You've got to be prepared to put those hours in.
Yeah.
And can I just have a final note? We're talking about.
I'm just going to say, before you do, if anybody's got any questions for Wendy before we wrap up, then please drop them in the comments now, anything at all, because we don't want Wendy to go off and you've missed that opportunity. So go on, Wendy.
I'm very open and very transparent, so you can ask me anything, literally anything. I don't care.
Within reason, Wendy. Real life.
Yes. Do you know, I look at what, we were talking about VAs of different levels and things, taking on associates of different levels. I do have a concern when I look at some of these VA groups, and people all sort of going, oh, you have to be earning no less than £30 an hour as an associate or something. And I think they're misleading.
Yeah,
they're very misleading. Some may be worth that £30 an hour, absolutely 100%, but you're going to have to be charging £45, £50 an hour to pay an associate that. But if you're a data entry person, which is nothing wrong with that because we all need that, or people that have just managed the odd diaries and things, that's completely unreasonable.
Yeah, it is. And you can command those prices if you want yourself as a solo VA, but you're quite right, as an associate, that's impossible. Like I take on associates. Our lowest rate that we pay is for the admin VAs who don't have those special skills, and that's £15 per hour that they receive, which is more than they would get if they were employed, or if they were working with some of the bigger companies out there that I started with that were paying £11 per hour, and I think still probably are. But
I think we've gone to 12 now.
Okay. I'm talking about. But then we've got the other end where they're on £25 per hour. And the thing is, what people don't realise is this isn't like straight profit. I don't just take a profit out of that. There's cost involved. I think you have to work it out. It costs me on average £9 per VA to run that client. Then you're doing all the marketing, and you've done all of the legwork to get that client for that VA as well. There's so much. The profit margins are not huge. I think it's a numbers game. Like the more clients you have, that's where the profit comes in. I don't really make any profit right now because we're still building the business. But I suppose there's a little bit more profit margin in employing people.
I don't know, because our costs are high. Our net profit margin is around 20%.
Okay, that's not so bad though.
We've dipped below that recently for various reasons. Training people takes a long time. We can have a 3-month period where we're paying people, but they're actually not generating any income at all.
Right. Okay.
So it sort of fluctuates, but we can stick it at around 22%.
That's amazing. And so, do you think much has changed since you started? Is it more of a struggle for you now, or are you well established?
I think for a new VA, it would be, I think it's more of a struggle because there are so many. And because I might get on my soapbox in a minute. And I'm 6 foot tall, so I'd be very tall on a soapbox. I think because it is so unregulated, well, it's completely unregulated, and there are so many VAs out there, I think it becomes more of a challenge. I think there are a lot of VAs, a lot of people that think they can be a VA because it's easy money, and are just not very good, giving everybody else a bad name. Yeah. And then you're on an uphill struggle sometimes.
Yeah, that's very true, because a lot of our clients that have come to us have had horror stories with VAs in the past, and then you've got that battle of trying to win that trust.
Yeah, it's not easy, is it? You're on a real uphill struggle. But when you've got it, it's great because you've really got it then. But I think there is a problem because it is so unregulated. And I don't think there's so many VAs now as there were around COVID. I think a lot have found, actually, I can't do anything. I'm earning about 50 quid a month.
Yeah.
So I've gone back and found jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. But I always say, and I wish I'd have known this myself at the beginning, don't call yourself a VA. Have a different title. Not a lot of people know what a VA is. They don't understand. And if you can, even like when I first started putting into ChatGPT, I'm a virtual assistant, and then giving it a prompt. When you put VA, it thinks that's the veterinary, like veterans in the army. Assistant, it thinks you're a bot. So then you have to explain it. So that's how bad it is. So if you can find that niche. And you don't have to find it right away. You can find it on your journey. Like we've discovered, we work really well with business coaches more than anyone else. And that's something I wouldn't have known at the beginning. It's something we've known over time. Then you can really play them with your title and what you do.
Yeah.
So But any last little bit of words of wisdom you want to send out there?
Words of wisdom. Get a strategy.
Get a strategy.
Read the E-Myth Revisited. Work out your strategy. If you don't want a job, start a business and make sure it is a business, and you're not just swapping your job at wherever you're working for another job.
Yeah, because it just becomes a jobby.
It just becomes a job, and you might just you'd be better off employed. You would be better off employed because you'd get all the perks with that.
Yeah, that's true.
You're not going to get when you're
absolutely.
And you won't have a sellable asset either. There'd be no asset whatsoever.
That's true, yeah. And he's thinking about that bigger picture, the exit, the end plan, which is incredible. You've been so inspiring, Wendy, because honestly, to look at your journey and think, wow, this is possible. It's possible for people to achieve that. But let's not sugarcoat it. It's not possible without developing yourself into an agency, without taking up risks, without having resilience, without having a backbone, getting out there. Like you're not coming on here saying, oh yeah, you just got to do this. You've made it really clear and being really honest. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we're going to end there, but the live will be on the grid for anybody to watch. You can reach out to Wendy. Wendy, let people know where they can find you.
I'm on Messenger. You can find me. I've got an open profile on Facebook, Wendy Norman. So you can find me easily on there, or my Facebook page, which is Live Link Resource, and just send me messages. That's fine.
And did you say you have an affiliate scheme for VAs?
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, yes, I have. I've got another company, a small company called Speedy Calls, which literally does what it says on the tin. We're not going to spend hours rambling on calls to you. They're going to be less than a minute. Message taking only. We have a great affiliate scheme with that if you've got any clients that you want to say, yeah, we can offer call answering to, pass them over to me. I'll pay you money for it every month off their invoice.
Fantastic. So head over there. We'll put all of this information into the show notes, because after this, we repurpose this into a podcast, which you can find on all popular podcast channels, called the VA Live Lounge. It will come out next Friday. And so all of the links will be there. But Wendy, thank you so much for joining us. It's been like absolutely incredible and fascinating. And thank you for all the people that have joined the live today and didn't ask any questions. It's not too late. You can always DM us or get in touch direct with Wendy. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Right, that's ended now. And it should be us.
That was so good.
That was quick. It seemed to be really quick, doesn't it? When you start talking, you think, God, where's that time gone?
I'm just going to make sure. Yes, ended. I'm always freaking out that it's still going.
Just go.
But no, your journey is just so incredible, Wendy. So fascinating. Honestly, you're an inspiration. I'll never forget you. So I'll remember you now. Like, Wendy did it, I can do it too.
Yeah, you can. You can. Honestly, there have been times, as I said, there have been really awful times where I've just wanted to just flush my head down the toilet or put it in a gas oven, you know. But I am quite resilient, and I know generally, apart from that one with Nick, which I could not get past because I was trying to organise funerals, and it was horrendous. And those awful clients sending me 42 emails a day, you know, it was horrific, absolutely horrific. But generally, like when I was sitting on the sofa and Boris said we're shutting down, everyone's shutting down for COVID, and I thought, well, that's great because all my clients are physical premises. Brilliant. What next? And I went into a bit of a meltdown, and then got a pen and paper out and just started writing, and then it just focused me back to thought. Amazing.
Yeah. Such an incredible journey. I think that's going to help a lot of people. And as I say, we'll put that back on the grid in a little while, and then on the podcast, and then we've got like our community group, and that'll go out in there, and it goes out on email. Our emails failed this morning for some reason, but yeah, we'll push it out and tag you in it as much as we can. Not that you need any more exposure, but
I do. Do you know, it's really funny. I've been starting to get payments now from Meta for my content.
Really?
Oh, this is good. Yeah, it's not going to make me a fortune, about $5 a month, I think it was last time.
Wow, what do they just pay you randomly, or do you have to do something?
They contact you and say you've now got into whatever category.
Wow.
If you'd like us it to be payable, please give us your bank details and verify them.
God, amazing. Whoa. Well, that's why you're back on in the future to talk about you've now become an influencer.
Oh my God, I laughed. I really laughed.
Right, thank you, Wendy. We'll leave it there now, but have an enjoyable rest of your day watching crap TV after 2:00 on the sofa.
I probably will. What's on next? Is it Homes Under the Hammer? I love Homes Under the Hammer. Well, actually, what I love about Homes Under the Hammer is Dion Dublin, let's be honest.
There we go, you see.
Yeah.
Every cloud.
Okay, ladies, thank you.
Thank you
Take care.
very much.
Bye.
Thank you.